welcome to Tales of Honor Podcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the true stories of every recipient of the Medal of Honor. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Honor Podcast. I'm your host, Christoph Ambrosch, and today's episode is episode number 318. I hope everybody that is a father had a great Father's Day on Sunday. I know on Sunday I said it didn't have any current events going on. Well, that was me pre-recording and forgetting that it would be Father's Day that day. I myself had a decent Father's Day, so hopefully you all did as well. Today, I only have one birthday to report. In 2 days, we are going to have a birthday. So on the 26th of June, which will be Friday by my calendar, Dakota Meyer will be turning 32 years old. So that's all the birthdays I got. Very happy 32nd birthday to Dakota Meyer, Afghanistan Medal of Honor recipient. And that is all I have for today's birthdays for the week. And I believe it's the last one for the month, if my memory serves me correctly. One little tidbit here before we get into today's episode. I want to give a quick little shout out to longtime friend of the show, Greg Fox. He's been listening to the show since the very beginning, I feel, and I always enjoy his support, comments, and feedback. I know he does listen with his family, so that's another reason why I like doing this podcast, is that it gets out to more ears. The more ears, the better. The reason why I bring up Greg is he actually made mention to me, and he's made mention to me several times, that he's been waiting for this episode to come out for a while. He actually worked with this recipient's widow in a small Mississippi town. He said his first job out of college, she once brought this recipient's Medal of Honor to work and showed it to him. So it has a little bit of a personal connection with the family, and he does have a rub-off of the gentleman's name on the Vietnam Wall. So it does have a personal connection, and that's another reason why I like to do this as well. So let's move right along, enough with the teasing, and we'll get right on to today's episode, which is episode number 318. Hilliard was born on the 26th of July, 1933, in Cornelia, Georgia, and shortly before turning 18, he joined the U.S. Air Force, becoming an air policeman with the Strategic Air Command. He was soon accepted into the aviation cadet program and was commissioned as an officer in June of 1955. Before qualifying to be a fighter pilot, Hilliard served as an instructor, and he was then a forward air controller when he deployed to the Republic of Vietnam in April of 1966 with the 21st Tactical Air Support Squadron. In under a year, he had flown 487 combat missions and earned the Distinguished Flying Cross as well as 17 air medals, which are typically awarded for single acts of merit or gallantry in combat or for meritorious service in a combat zone. His final mission would be where his actions would earn him the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. As a forward air controller, Captain Wilbanks was a pilot of an unarmed, light aircraft flying visual reconnaissance ahead of a South Vietnam Army Ranger battalion. His intensive search revealed a well-concealed and numerically superior hostile force poised to ambush the advancing Rangers. The Viet Cong, realizing that Captain Wilbanks' discovery had compromised their position and ability to launch a surprise attack, immediately fired on the small aircraft with all available firepower. The enemy then began advancing against the exposed forward elements of the Ranger force, which were pinned down by devastating fire. Captain Wilbanks recognized that close support aircraft could not arrive in time to enable the Rangers to withstand the advancing enemy onslaught. With full knowledge of the limitations of his unarmored light reconnaissance aircraft and the great danger imposed by the enemy's vast firepower, he unhesitatingly assumed a covering, close support role. Flying through a hail of withering fire at treetop level, Captain Wilbanks passed directly over the advancing enemy and inflicted as many casualties by firing his rifle out of the side window of his aircraft. Despite increasingly intense anti-aircraft fire, Captain Wilbanks continued to completely disregard his own safety and made repeated low passes over the enemy to divert their fire away from the Rangers. His daring tactics successfully interrupted the enemy advance, allowing the Rangers to withdraw to safety from their perilous position. During his final courageous attack to protect the withdrawing forces, Captain Wilbanks was mortally wounded and his bullet-riddled aircraft crashed between the opposing forces. Captain Wilbanks' magnificent actions saved numerous friendly personnel from certain injury or death. His unparalleled concern for his fellow man and his extraordinary heroism were in the highest traditions of the military service and have reflected great credit upon himself and the U.S. Air Force. Hilliard was pulled from his wreckage by one of the Rangers he was trying to help and was loaded onto a helicopter for evacuation, where he died at the age of 33. Almost 1 year later, his wife, Rosemary, received his Medal of Honor from the Secretary of the Air Force, Harold Brown, in a ceremony at the Pentagon on the 24th of January, 1968. In Clarksville, Georgia, the Hilliard A. Wilbanks Middle School was named in his honor, as well as a dedication of a 6-foot-tall granite memorial in Cornelia, Georgia. As well as being inducted into the Georgia Aviation Hall of Fame, in 2011, the Hilliard A. Wilbanks Foundation was established in order to promote the values of courage, sacrifice, and patriotism, and award scholarships to Georgia high school seniors. 2 of Hilliard's family serve as directors for the foundation. Patricia, his sister, is the current secretary, with her husband being the president, and John, his youngest son, is also on the board. He and Rosemary had 4 children: Tommy, Paula, John, and Debbie. Hilliard Almond Wilbanks is one of 19 Medal of Honor recipients from the Air Force and is buried in the Fayette Cemetery in Fayette, Mississippi. His name appears on panel 15E, line 88 of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. And that was a Tale of Honor. Thank you for listening to Tales of Honor Podcast. Head on over to talesofhonorpodcast.com, where you can read these stories, see other ways to support the show, and easily share a story with your friends and family. Tales of Honor Podcast is written and produced by Christoph Ambrosch, and theme song, A New Beginning, is by Ben Sound. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to talesofhonorpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Christoph Ambrosch. Thanks for listening.